The Orlando Magic outplay the Utah Jazz in the fourth quarter and surprise the Jazz. Only their third loss leading going to the fourth quarter since the beginning of last season. But the Magic outscore the Jazz 32-15 in the fourth. We're talking about it on POSTCAST. POSTCAST is brought to you by the store, not the score tonight. We don't want the score tonight. The Jazz lose it 107-100. The store is located 6200 South as well, and also located at the Gateway. I'm kind of stunned here. There's no mudslide cookies tonight after this loss for the Utah Jazz. The Jazz led by 10 heading into the fourth quarter. You really thought they had it. They'd taken control of the game, and they lost control of the game in the fourth quarter, and the Magic hit on 12 of 18 shots, while the Jazz hit on 5 of 16. The Jazz were 1 of 10 from 3, and they could not regain control of this basketball game. Ron, what happened?
Well, Jazz only scored 14 points in that fourth quarter, and that really, really hurt. And I thought a key point in the ball game was when the Jazz called a timeout. I think they were up 2 and had the basketball. They come out of a timeout. Joe Ingles has a turnover, leads to 2 points on the other end of the floor. And the Jazz were just unable to finish. I'm not impressed with the way the Jazz are playing as a whole right now. I think there needs to be just a little more ball movement, especially when Conley's not playing, because I think Joe needs to be a little more involved.
Joe has not gotten going yet. No. And what allowed the Jazz to be, I think, 15-5 or 14-6 or something like that last year when Mike Conley didn't play, was that Joe would play the point guard and be really effective on the pick and roll. He has not been effective on the pick and roll at all yet this year. What is going on in that regard?
When they switch 1 through 5 like that kind of takes away that. We've seen that over the years. And other opposing coaches aren't totally, they're not dumb. They have game plans. They know what the strength of Rudy Gobert, of where he's at around the rim, and how Joe Ingles gets them the basketball. They know Joe likes to go from the right side of the floor to the left with that left hand and get Rudy the ball. So they kind of take that away. And other parts of his game is predicated on teammates getting him the basketball in shooting situations.
Okay, there's a minor explanation, but I don't know just how impactful 7 games, 12 nights, 7 different cities, and a game last night against Miami. How impactful was that at a short and actually a little bit short, like not minor, but 22 and a half hours instead. It was a 6 o'clock start off a 7:30 game. Like, how much do you think that played into that fourth quarter?
It plays into the whole game, I think. You get to the point where you're extending yourself in the first 3 quarters, trying to win this basketball game and keep your opponents from running away with it for the most part. You played a difficult basketball game last night. Same situation where you have to extend a lot of energy. You have to travel. So it does play a part. But, this is a very good basketball team. I'm talking about the Jazz. And games like this, some of them slip away. You got to give Orlando some credit by the way they played, the way they shot the basketball, the way they got it done. The scramble for the basketball there ended up with, 2 or 3 seconds on the clock. And what was it, Carter that ended up with the ball in his hands, and he knocked down Hampton and knocks down a shot. So those things, when you hustle and you start playing, things start to work for you, and they start to play into, and you start making things happen.
And Cole Anthony made a bunch of plays. Yes, the Magic took the game from the Jazz, and then the Jazz couldn't regain it. So you got to give the Magic a world of credit with their young players to do that first step. They were down 10 heading into the fourth quarter. They didn't roll at all. And I give Jamal Mosley credit. He kind of played with his rotations a little bit there. This is actually, well, there's 2 points here. Actually, this is actually a pretty good point by Jared. The Jazz are just above average when Clarkson's not hitting. Mm-hmm. And it sounds harsh, but quite honestly, if you take a player on your roster and have them take 14, 15 shots a night and make 15 or 16% of them, yes, it does do that to you. It absolutely mathematically makes you go from being a great team to an above average to average team. Like, he won 6th Man of the Year award for a reason. He was a large part of the reason why this team was 52-20. If he's not making shots at all, it really limits how good the Jazz are. This is not trying to be like hot takey or critical or just kind of factual.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. If he's going to be your second on the team in shot attempts a game at 16, hey, Donovan's taking 20, 21. And he's your leading scorer. He's the guy that's going to spend 30-something minutes on the floor. And Jordan Clarkson's playing anywhere from about 20 minutes somewhere, something like that. And he's taking 16. So, yeah, when he's not making those shots that he normally takes, and again, a lot of them are low percentage shots, but that's his game. And he's capable of getting hot, being just as hot as he is cold right now.
Jazz shoot 38%. They shoot 19% from three. That has to have somewhat to do with the fatigue issue. But Orlando also played a game plan to that. They got into our guys. They picked them up. They hassled them. We had 2 offensive fouls on picks where guys, are up on the ball hard enough you get those fouls. But Bogdanovich 1 for 5. Mitchell 2 for 12. Ingles 1 for 7. Clarkson 2 for 11. Pascal 0 for 4. Pascal really hasn't hit many shots in a while. I don't know if I have my note.
Ended up 1 for 6.
Overall,
1 for 5.
But I mean, he has suddenly gone really cold after a nice start in the first few games. There is just not enough shot making happening for the Jazz right now.
Well, when the Jazz are not making shots, then it's awfully difficult for the win. Well, any team, it's awfully difficult for them to win. But
Pascal's 2 of his last 16.
Yeah,
Sorry,
they've been able to survive the early part of this season with the way they're shooting the basketball. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens against Atlanta, who will be in the arena on the 9th.
And the defenses usually bail the Jazz out. They couldn't bail them out tonight. I talked about it throughout the broadcast that Orlando has actually struggled this year when they have these like dead quarters. Mm-hmm. They never had the dead quarter. The Jazz never had the defensive push tonight. Any thoughts on why not?
It had a lot to do with what the Magic were doing. It's hard to say. The defense, the fact that they switch 1 through 5, and then you got Carter who can stretch the floor and make shots. He had a pretty good night. I know we didn't talk a lot about him. He was 9 for 14. He had 22 points, ended up with 15 rebounds there as well. So he was able to neutralize, I think, Rudy, and then Cole Anthony just gets hot. I mean, you really got to give him all the credit for the way he was able to get it
He
done.
and R.J. Hampton combined for the last 16 points for the Magic. A stunner.
Yeah.
The Orlando Magic came with all sorts of juice early. The Jazz worked their way back. They got the 2-point lead at halftime. They led by 10 in the fourth. And only for the third time since the beginning of last season did the Utah Jazz lose a game they led going into the fourth quarter. And they do it to the Magic, a team that you really honestly wouldn't expect the Jazz to lose to. There's about 4 teams in this league that aren't trying to win. Orlando seems to be one of them with their roster, and they grab one from the Jazz tonight. So this is a difficult one. We'll see how the Jazz react. An extended homestand coming up here. A lot of questions about Rudy Gay. Seems like he's working his way toward possibly getting back during this next stretch of games at home, like extended games of stretch at home. We're home for like 22 days, pretty much most of it. Somewhere in that, I'd expect we see Rudy sometime, hopefully this month. There's kind of the way he's working. There's nothing definitive. Maybe it'll be early December, maybe it'll be sometime in November, but he's working his way back toward it, and hopefully that'll add a little bit of juice to the Jazz offensively. But guys have got to get right. We're 10 games into the season, and the Jazz tonight, came into the night, there was only one player on the roster that's playing that was shooting over 32% from 3. And that you kind of ignore it because it's like, it's only 9 games in. But that's actually what took place. There just weren't enough guys on the roster to make threes. And the one guy that was shooting well, Joe Ingles, did not have a good night. And so next thing you know, the Jazz finished the night from 3, 8 of 42 and 38% from the field. And they get beat by the Magic 107-100. On behalf of Ron, I'm David. Have a good one. Locked on Jazz will come your direction tomorrow at some point. I might sleep for a little while. Who knows? See ya.